Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Good. All right, so I know it's 8 o'clock, it's Monday morning, it's President's Day. We got to have some energy in the room. Who is that convention?
I was.
All right, we got to have that energy here, right? Because this is, like Frank said, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, this is the road to the Hall of Fame. And what the Hall of Fame means, you're going to hear a lot today about what it takes, what you have to do, the roadmap, the blueprint. We're handing it to everybody. There's no secrets, as everybody knows at FFL. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the lessons I learned in my first 90 days and the work ethic that it's going to take. So to me, when we're looking at this goal, we almost have to reverse engineer it, right? We need to help 400 families in the year. That's the goal, right? So about 34-ish a month. I'm not great at math, so if I'm wrong on that, tell me. But I'm pretty sure it's about 34 a month. So now we got to figure out reverse engineering 34 a month to how many a week. And really, what it boils down to is your investment and your lead spend number one. Because to me, a lot of people come in with goals. I want to help this many families. I want to write this. I want to do that. And that's awesome. And you should have those goals. However, you have to look at what you're going to have to invest, number one. And then you have to have some blind faith behind the investment. I listened to a podcast the other day of new Integrity partner, John Gavin. And amazing story, the Inspire podcast with that Integrity does every week with Brian Adams. And he talked about when he got in the industry, he was really in not a great spot, and he had blind faith. And that really clicked with me as I thought back to my beginnings in my first 90 days. I was the same way, and a lot of you here today are also in the same boat, right? You've seen this opportunity. You know that it seems real, right? There's plenty of people doing it, #1 IMO in the country. But can it work for you, right? So you all that are new and some that are not have blind faith. And I think you need to continue to have it. And the key of being a Hall of Fame producer is having the blind faith when things aren't going your way. It's really, really easy to kind of play from ahead when things are going well. It's not so easy to play from behind when things aren't. So you have to, in your brain and your mindset, say, when things are not going the way that I want them to go, I have to have blind faith and understand that I'm at the right place, I'm surrounded by the right people, I can reach out to the right people, and I can gain knowledge and information from those people, because we're not trying to hide anything. Like I said earlier, we're trying to share as much as possible. So when I think back to my first 90 days, had some blind faith, came in from restaurants, knew zero about insurance. I still think I don't really know that much about insurance. I know it pays when you die, and I know there's term and whole. You know, Index Universal Life, talk to Chris Foto, don't talk to me. He sells more of it than I do. But getting into it in those first 90 days, the first thing that I learned was lead flow. Because to me, lead flow is everything. Lead flow is cash flow. So what I became was kind of a student of the game of leads. Now, when I started, we didn't have anywhere near what we have today. The CRM, we had it. It was not as advanced as it is, and it's also going to be getting an upgrade. We didn't have instant internet leads. You had a lot of final expense. You had a lot of second chance mortgage. You had some companies that did, obviously, new mortgage. But I started to just talk to different vendors. So in addition to the CRM, you have your private vendors. So I made it a point to reach out to those people and to understand the area I was in, how big of a radius I needed to open myself up to, right? Obviously, if you run a 25-mile radius on a campaign for a lead, you're going to get a lower return than if you open yourself up to 50, okay? So the next thing I said to myself was, I need to run that bigger radius. If I live in Broward County, for instance, and I was running into Dade County was a little tougher from what I had heard. But in my brain, I said, okay, hitting the goal of helping 400 families, that's not easy. right? That's not simple. So I'm not going to be able to go the simple route and just go run some leads like, 10 minutes from my house. Like, it's not going to work that way. So I opened myself up running different areas, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to throw in a third area. I'm going to throw in, St. Lucie County. So now I got like this hour-and-a-half stretch each way. And guess what? I never had a problem having enough people to talk to. Now, in the beginning, I wasn't good on the phone. So I had a hard time booking enough appointments. Because when you're looking at this goal of helping 400 families, the next part of that reverse engineering is 30 appointments. Now, I don't think I hit 30 appointments probably until 4 months in, if I had to guess, if I look back on it. But I'll tell you what I did do. I looked at this as a video game, okay? So if I told everybody that the video game that you're playing is 8 a.m. on Monday, Thursday, you dial the phone. You dial it until you book, ideally, 15 appointments for the next 2 days. That you might dial for 5 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, I don't know. Probably a lot in the beginning, right? So you need to understand the time sacrifice there. But then, whatever you do, the next day, whether you book 3, whether you book 10, whether you book whatever, the video game is, I go out in the field, how many people can I get in front of? So ideally, yes, I'd love to have 30 appointments. I didn't have that, but I knocked on that many doors. Did I get into every one of them? Nope. But what it forced me to do, it was almost like the game I was playing was punishing myself. And it was, I'm going to punish myself because I'm not good enough on the phone right now. And it's going to force me to get good on the phone because I don't want to door knock all day long. And I've never stopped doing that. Because to me, I want to be very consistent. I don't want to change what I do because the consistency works when you do it all the time. And you have to do it when it's not convenient. When you're in your car and it's the middle of the afternoon and you book 3 appointments and you want to just go to, Panera and have a sandwich and, talk with your mom and see how she's doing. And everybody talk to your mom, so don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you not to talk to your mom. But play the video game that is, I need to, from 9 a.m. or whatever time you start your day until 7, 8 p.m., whatever time you're ending your day, I need to constantly be working to get in front of people. I dial in the car. I probably book more appointments in the car than I do in my office, to be honest with you. Because I'm always focused on activity. And that's how in those first 90 days, which are critical to everybody, of getting to this goal or any goal that you have, that's how you're going to get better. But again, you have to do it when you don't want to do it. There's plenty of days I don't want to do it, right? How many people here love to dial? Let me be honest. I hate it. I don't like dialing, but it's a necessary thing. And then when you do it, it's like anything else. Like, let's rip the Band-Aid off, and you get better at it, right? It's like anything else. But we do I bet a lot of us like in homes, right? We like being in the house with the clients. They're making you cookies, I remember my first sale. Lady gave me a blueberry muffin. I'll never forget it. She called me 2 weeks ago and was like, hey, I got to change my banking. I'm like, wow, 3 years in, that's awesome. So we love that, but we have to love what it takes to get us to that point. So that speaks to work ethic. If you're lazy, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a Hall of Fame producer. I don't know what to tell you. Being a Hall of Fame producer, if you looked at the industry, it's not really the norm. FFL, I think this year we had 100 and something, Frank, probably, somewhere in that ballpark. Last year, I think we had about 60. And if you looked industry-wide at that number, comparatively, I bet there's not that many in the industry that do that much. So what does that mean? That means that you need to work harder and have a better work ethic than most do, because you're looking to get a result that most won't, right? That obviously makes sense, right? It equates. So the work ethic of the time you're dialing, how long you're in the field, and then in my first 90 days, my big thing was, how do I get better at the in-home? So activities 1, obviously. Then 2 was putting in time to listen to things to get better. Now, when I started, there was a lot of stuff. There was the weekly schedule, but there was nowhere near the amount of stuff that there is now. I mean, if you can't figure out how to do this now with the amount of content, like, it might not be for you. There's just that much stuff out there now, and you have to be a student of the game. That's what a Hall of Fame producer is. Someone who is going to learn and put in the time to feed themselves the knowledge, plus having the activity and the work ethic. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to go watch YouTube videos at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. I'm saying to dial 8 a.m. Monday morning until you have your appointments, and then, okay, I'm gonna go sit down and listen to something. I'm gonna be at the gym, I'm gonna be listening to something. I'm gonna be in the car, and I'm gonna be listening to something. Because every time you listen to something and hear something, you're gonna say, first off, man, I wish I heard that 3 appointments ago, because I would have helped that family. And 2, that's gonna help me protect countless other families moving forward. So that time investment into listening and learning it's money coming to you. It's families that are going to be helped. They're just not helped right now. But understand, like, we're in an abundant industry. So everything is there for us. It's just a matter of time. So the other thing in the first 90 days was trying to get through the first 100 appointments, right? I wanted to really, really fail forward. So I remember, vividly, always calling my upline, we had a hotline at the time, with the financial inventory filled out, with all the information. I didn't know much, and I always wanted to, 1, come across like I was the expert, even though I wasn't. So I was talking to one of my guys, Andrew, earlier, who's pretty new. And he's doing a really good job because he doesn't know everything, but he's positioning himself correctly where he sounds like he does, but then he reaches out for help. So you obviously want to show credibility in who you are and have confidence in who you are, but then you want to know where to go to get the answers. And then when you're in the in-home, you just tell them, hey, I know where to go, but I just want to get some clarity to make sure we put you in the best spot. So I got to the point in those 90 days, I called the hotline for everything. To the point they said to me, hey, Steve, you're writing more than everybody else. Could you stop calling the hotline? We're going to start calling you. I'm like, well, I just want to know. I want to be sure. I want to do the best thing here for the client. So that's kind of your roadmap on your in-home and how you attack that. The other thing that I would say, going back to the failing part, you have to embrace failure. You really do. You're going to fail. I literally, you can believe it if you want or not, every day I feel like it's more of a battle to not lose than it is a battle to win. Like, it just is. Because there's a healthy fear of loss that I take with myself, and that back against the wall. Like, how many people here, and you don't have to raise your hand, feel like your back's against the wall today? Like, I do, I just do. Like, we've only scratched the surface. We've only scratched the surface of being producers. We've only scratched the surface, some of us here that are agency owners. We have that fear of loss, so therefore we're working to get better each and every day. And that's very, very important because it keeps you going. You're not acting like you've arrived. Nobody's arrived. Yes, we are the biggest IMO. That's awesome. But we still haven't arrived. There's so many people to help. If you think about the population of the US, the population of this state, there's so many people that need insurance and need our help. So we need to thrive every day to get better. So consistency, going back to that, is probably the biggest key to becoming a Hall of Fame producer. And it's probably the hardest thing to do in general terms. But you control one thing. You control, again, going back to leads, you control the consistent amount of leads that you buy each and every week and the consistent work ethic that you put behind all of the leads that you buy. And let's be real, some people, they just don't buy enough. They don't. And I'll tell you why. One, they don't want to work as hard as they really should. right? Because who's going to spend all that money on leads and not work? Like, nobody is. So force yourself every week to make sure that you're creating a paycheck by investing enough, being diverse in your lead types, which a lot of people are going to talk about today, and then being insanely consistent with your schedule. Now, a lot of us have, families and responsibilities and all that stuff. And that's cool. But what you have to do is you got to kind of draw a line in the sand. And I remember vividly, Frank, you probably remember this, 3 years ago, me, you, and Mark Mead, we sat down and Mark Mead said this to both of us. He goes, all right, you have this, you got a T, and you got a line, and on one side we're going to put what you want, and on the other side we're going to put what you're willing to give up. And he challenged me at that point. And he said, you love your life, you like doing things, and you like your family and this and that. That's awesome. But if you want to be here, if you want to be a Hall of Fame producer, we got to take some of that stuff away. For the short term. Because again, this isn't forever. For the short term. And that struck a chord with both of us. And I remember saying, okay, I got to get rid of this. I got to get rid of that. Watch a little bit less TV, whatever. I remember listening to a podcast you did, Frank, you're talking about working out less, which I don't know because you look ripped, so I don't know how that worked. I don't know what you do. Good genetics, I guess. I don't know. But I remember that vividly because, again, you have to give up some stuff to get what you want. But you got to weigh out how bad you want it. If you want that red jacket, they're not just going to hand it to you. You have to go after it and give up some stuff and get your circle involved. Get your people knowing, wife, kids, family, whatever. Like, hey, look, I might be running appointments a couple Saturdays, at night. And guess what? Plan your stuff out, obviously. You got stuff with the kids, this and that. But understand also, and let them know why we're doing that. Protecting 400 families is going to directly impact your financial future forever. Do that a couple years and you'll completely be in a different spot, be thinking differently, and be living differently for your family. So I hope that helps. I think today's going to be an awesome event. We have so many awesome people that are going to give you a lot of different thought processes and ways to do this. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So I thank you all for being here, and let's kill it today.